And welcome to News Round, a recap of stories that made headlines during the week. Coming up, Supreme Court upholds the federal government's appeal, challenging the verdict. The appeal court will dismiss the charges against the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu. And political tension in Rivers State takes another dimension as 27 members of the State House of Assembly under the People's Democratic Party defect to the All Progressives Congress. The state government also pulls down the State House of Assembly complex. National Assembly Joint Committee of the Senate and House of Representatives unanimously reject the 2024 Judiciary budget, gives Minister 24 hours to make appearance. Plus, Hungary blocks 50 billion euros of European Union funding for Ukraine. And that's News Round in view. We'll begin News Round with the Supreme Court's judgment, which upheld the federal government's appeal, challenging the verdict of the appellate court that dismissed the remaining charges against the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu. In a unanimous judgment prepared by Justice Garba Mohammed, but read by Justice Emmanuel Agim, the 5-member panel of justices held that the federal government acted irresponsibly when it forcefully brought Kanu back to the country from Kenya against all known laws. However, the Apex Court maintained that this was not enough to divest the trial court of its jurisdiction to continue with the case.
The leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, will have to stay in detention at the Department of State of Services, DSS, for a while, as the Supreme Court of Nigeria has ordered that he answers to the 7-count charge against him before Justice Binta Nyako at the Federal High Court, Abuja. Mr. Kanu was first arrested by security agencies in Lagos on October 14, 2015, and has been in detention since June 29, 2021. He was arraigned before the Federal High Court in Abuja on a 4-count charge bordering on treasonable felony, conspiracy to commit treasonable felony, terrorism, illegal importation of radio equipment, and defamation of former President Muhammadu Buhari. The charges were later amended to a 15-count charge on terrorism and membership of a proscribed group. In her ruling, the trial judge, Justice Binta Nyako, dismissed 8 out of the 15-count charges, saying that Mr. Kanu had questions to answer in the remaining 7 charges. Dissatisfied with the ruling, Mr. Kanu appealed to the Court of Appeal. The appellate court dismissed the remaining charges and ordered that Mr. Kanu be released. In a twist, the appellate court granted a stay of execution of its judgment after the federal government had told the court that they were appealing to the Supreme Court. In its judgment, the Supreme Court held that no legislation in the country stripped the trial court of the jurisdiction to go ahead with Kanu's case, despite the illegal action that the federal government took against him. The Apex Court also berated the trial court for revoking Kanu's bail after he escaped to save his life, following the invasion of his home by security agents.
We had hoped that it would come our way, but it has gone the other way. It simply means that we have to go back to the High Court and get done with this quickly. We still have hope. We're not in despair.
This is victory to our administration of criminal justice because it shows that once you are an accused person, once you are a defendant, no matter what excuse you want to bring to hide under the law to say that you should not be tried, the Supreme Court have expressly, unequivocally stated clearly that we don't have the legislation that will vitiate the court from trying a defendant that has committed a crime. You must be tried for every offense you have committed.
With this development, the trial of Nnamdi Kanu at the Federal High Court, Abuja, will resume at a date that will be communicated to other parties involved. Emanuela Ekele, Channels Television News.
And to the political tension in Rivers State, 27 out of 32 members of the State House of Assembly under the platform of the People's Democratic Party have defected to the All Progressives Congress. They're the lawmakers under the leadership of Martin Maule, who are believed to be loyal of the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Nyesom Wike. Take a listen.
The crisis rocking the Rivers State House of Assembly took a new twist on Monday, December 11, 2023, as 27 of the 32 lawmakers believed to be loyal to the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike announced their defection to the All Progressives Congress on the floor of the House. Martins Amewule, who is the Speaker of the group, begins the day's proceedings by reading out his own letter addressed to the Deputy Speaker of his group, before going ahead to state the reason for the defection of 27 other lawmakers from his group.
I would like to bring to the attention of this August Assembly my decision to leave the People's Democratic Party, PDP. This decision to leave the PDP is necessitated by the division in the People's Democratic Party, of which I was elected to the House. In particular, the tussle around who the National Secretary of the PDP is has now sharply divided the party and made it unclear as to who is the National Secretary of the party, thereby making it difficult for me to chart an appropriate communication channel. The reason for the defection by the 27 members of this House are purely in line with the provisions of the 1999 Constitution as altered, specifically Section 109. And the condition for the defection is division in the party. And there's clearly division in the People's Democratic Party. There are court processes as evidence, because the Constitution is also seeking for evidence, and the evidence is clear. All the court processes are hereby attached by all the members, and it is before the House, and the House has already before this time deliberated on all the issues in the PDP, and we feel that it is sufficient division, and for that reason, members have the choice to move to the All Progressive Congress, as already indicated in these letters.
Meanwhile, the critical chairman of the Rivers APC, Mr. Tony Okocha, welcomes the defection, adding that a special ceremony will be held to unveil the 27 lawmakers who are now members of his party.
We commend the defectors, the assembly members. You see, 27 persons, 27 members cannot equate with 4. And if the governor of the state, who heads the executive arm of government in Rivers State, had decided to lend vent or give vent to the 4 persons over and above 27 persons, then you know that there is a complete anathema. It is not a thing anybody will want to tolerate.
Elsewhere, the defection continues to elicit reaction, with one of the prominent voices in Rivers State pointing out how this development will affect the budgeting process.
The moment there was the National Working Committee dissolving the state ESCO of the APC, and then having someone that is loyal to former Governor Wike as the chairman of the party, I saw this coming, and more defections are going to come in the days ahead. And then you look at the State Executive Council; they have sat down to approve 800 billion as the appropriation, bill for 2024. Now that is going to the State Assembly. Who are the people that control the Assembly? It is now the APC. So you are going to have a system whereby that bill may not be passed, and then the governor may not be able to work. And that is the beginning of the possibility of the resumption of the impeachment process that was thwarted as a result of the intervention of some elders in Rivers State.
The gale of defections is coming barely 24 hours after some SDP and APC members announced their defection to the PDP. Charles Oporum, Channels Television News.
And staying in Rivers State, and with another political drama, the State House of Assembly complex was demolished about 2 months after fire got to the complex. The demolition of the complex is said to have been carried out by the state government, which claims it's carrying out renovation work on the complex. Meanwhile, the All Progressives Congress has condemned the action of the government, accusing the government of masterminding the inferno on the complex in the first place.
This is the Rivers State House of Assembly on Moscow Road. The complex is again the center of attention as it is being outrightly demolished. at about 6:45 a.m. on Thursday. Bulldozers said to be deployed to the House of Assembly by the state government approached the complex, bringing it down.
We are not bringing. Okay, don't let me hear something.
The Rivers State government, through the Commissioner for Information, Mr. Joe Johnson, says there is nothing to worry about, as the government is only acting on the advice of consultants who warned that the building is no longer safe for habitation.
After the fire incident that took place on the 29th, arising from the visit of His Excellency, I was on that trip, and we got there to assess the extent of damage. But beyond that, His Excellency also commissioned consultants who went into the structure and came up with an advice that it was no longer habitable and not very conducive for business. On the strength of that advice, the government had decided to demolish that structure and also provide a befitting place for members of parliament to transact their business. Well, the rapidity at which we commenced today will tell you that we're prepared to do it. And within record time, I'm sure that place will be fit for legislative business.
Reacting to development,
which of course
the Rivers State APC critical chairman, Tony Okocha, accuses the state governor, Mr. Siminala Ifubara, of being responsible for the fire that razed the complex in October.
Would 4 constitute 11, which of course ought to be 1/3 of members of the House. In other words, it is an action in illegality, and we will condemn it. We'll keep condemning it. It has proven, the governor has proven us right. One would say that he was responsible for the inferno, the fire issue in Assembly.
Elsewhere in the state, the Commissioner of Police, Mr. Tunjidisu, assures residents that there is no cause for alarm as the police is ready to deal with any security breach.
This is a localized incident that happened within this area. It is not something trickling down to other parts of the state. For those willing to come home for Christmas, I beg you to kindly come home and spend nice time here with members of your family. We have increased policemen on the road. All nooks and crannies of the town are properly policed.
Once standing tall, a bastion of the legislative activity here in Rivers State, the Rivers State House of Assembly complex is being torn down. Residents of the city woke up to see bulldozers bringing down this edifice amidst claims of renovation work going on here. But in the midst of all of this, the Commissioner of Police in the state is assuring that this Yuletide, there will not be a breakdown of law and order, even as he calls on politicians in the state to be more circumspect in their actions. From Port Harcourt, Rivers State, Charles Oporum, Channels Television News.
The National Assembly Joint Committee on Judiciary and Human Rights rejected the federal budget for the nation's judiciary. The committee consequently asked the Minister of National Planning, Director General of the Budget Office, to appear before it within the next 24 hours over what it regards as poor budgetary allocation to the judiciary. The decision was taken when the Secretary of the National Judicial Council appeared before the committee.
It's the turn of the National Judicial Council to appear before the National Assembly Joint Committee on Judiciary and Human Rights. The Secretary of the Council is flanked by representatives from all the courts at various levels, and the one issue that dominates the conversation is the 165 billion naira allocation to the nation's judiciary.
Mr. Chairman, this is like a SOS presentation for the Nigerian judiciary. If we are really serious about justice administration in this country, this honorable and distinguished assembly has to do something urgently to save the soul of Nigerian judiciary.
This budget has failed. This project cannot be implemented. It cannot work. We cannot turn the judiciary arm of government to beggars.
Joint Committee of the Senate and the House of Representatives has resolved, without a single voice of dissent, to invite the Minister of National Planning and the DG Budget to appear before this committee unfailingly tomorrow clearly encroaches upon the independence of the Nigerian judiciary. We will not allow a situation whereby the judiciary will go cap in hand, begging the executive for funds to fund their operation.
In another panel session, the Senate queried the management of Assets Management Company of Nigeria, AMCON, over 145 billion naira loss in 12 months as submitted to the Senate Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions.
I am a bit astonished by the fact that your balance sheet isn't looking good at all. For example, your total comprehensive profit and loss at the end of the year came into a loss of 145 billion naira. This call for concern.
Are we going to continue like this 13 years after? And can we say that the reason for the establishment of AMCON is justified under these circumstances?
The senators were no less satisfied when the AMCON chief told the panel that his administration has recovered about 648 billion naira out of the agency's 5 trillion naira total liability in 2023. During an interactive session with the Senate Committee on Finance, the Group Chief Executive Officer of the NNPCL, Mr. Milikiari, declared that it has remitted 4.5 trillion naira generated revenue as at October this year into the Federation account, pronouncing better days ahead for the country. From the National Assembly, Gloria Omezuke, Channels Television News.
Nigeria's rising inflationary trajectory and exchange rates will reverse in 2024. This according to the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Olayemi Cardoso, who gave the assurance during a presentation to the National Assembly Joint Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions in Abuja. The CBN boss also projected less revenue from oil exports due to the production limit of 1.78 million barrels per day in 2024.
The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Yemi Cardoso, appears before the National Assembly Joint Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions over the 2024 budget of the Apex Bank.
I would like you to know that we are yet to receive the statutory reports, both the audited reports, management accounts for 2023, and even the budget estimates.
At the statutory briefing, the CBN boss shares the outlook for the domestic economy in 2024.
Inflation pressures may persist in the short term, but is expected to decline in 2024. Exchange rate pressures are also expected to reduce significantly with a smooth functioning of the foreign exchange market. We expect less revenue from oil exports due to the production limit of 1.78 million barrels per day in 2024, and our focus on increasing the autonomous FX supply would lead to more stability.
You also have...
At another session, the National Assembly Joint Committee on Niger Delta meets with the Minister of Niger Delta Development. Lamentations over the paucity of funds prevailed while the panel queried the budget performance as well as the preponderance of abandoned projects in the region.
Also ask our staff to identify among these projects the ones that are still reasonable, but the ones I measure about 50 billion. That is down to some of them have been abandoned over, even since there are some who were awarded contracts in 2009 when the ministry was established, 2010, and they could not perform because they were not funded.
A lot of MDAs, NJCs of the government have received close to 80-90%. My colleagues can testify to that. When you go to your budget proposals, you will see literally a project 2030, 2015, 20. What impact do those projects have on our people? Look at the 2023, jeopardize it with the 2022, the same story. The problem lies in the ministry.
Whatever you have brought today is just budget. We are going to overhaul it for us to have something that is acceptable.
The minister is assuring the committee that there would be significant infrastructural development in the Niger Delta under his watch. From the National Assembly, Gloria Omezuke, Channels Television News.
And President Bola Tinubu has emphasized the country's commitment to achieving universal health coverage, saying health is now on the front burner. He was speaking during the commemoration of the World Universal Health Coverage Day at the presidential unveiling of Nigeria's Health Sector Renewal Compact, which is expected to attract $3 billion into the health sector.
Today, the nation unveils Nigeria's Health Sector Renewal Compact and Investment Initiative. It's also the event to mark the World Universal Health Coverage Day.
We cannot afford to...
Attending the event, organized by the Ministry of Health and Social Welfare, are state governors, traditional leaders, civil society organizations, and development partners. A long list of partners, including the traditional institution in Nigeria, hailed the initiative and pledged their support.
Friends, colleagues, this is a time for Nigeria to take center stage to address the issues of maternal mortality, the high rates of stunting, to ensure that every family has access to good quality care.
It's no exaggeration to say that today could be a turning point for Nigeria and indeed for Africa. The scale of your ambition is a model for other countries, and if implemented, it will send a powerful message throughout our continent that universal health coverage is possible.
We will give our total commitment 100% so that Nigeria will be a healthy country.
For those who have a major role to play in ensuring the Health Sector Renewal Compact is a success, this is a historic moment.
We expect, and at least we have heard, at least $3 billion in pooled and non-pooled financing in the period 2024 to 2026, which is a huge milestone to be channeled towards improving our primary healthcare system and achieving results for Nigerians.
Our mandate to collaborate closely with the Federal Ministry of Health and ensure that the provisions of this compact are translated into practical and measurable actions.
Federal Republic of Nigeria to address that.
President Tinubu says the occasion highlights this administration's stance on quality health for Nigerians.
Delivering improved quality health. The outcome is an underpinning factor in my promise of renewed hope. That hope is ignited here today, and with your support, health is back on the front burner. Recognizing the importance of primary health care as the cornerstone of a resilient, integrated healthcare system, my administration is embarking on massive effort from 2024 to refurb physical infrastructure, equipment, and retraining of frontline health workers in collaboration with all the 36 states.
It's a historic day that highlights the points behind the universal health coverage, that everyone should have access to quality health services without financial difficulties. And after all is said and done here, what is expected is that the benefits of this partnership will reach every Nigerian across the country. From the State House, Lanre Lasisi, Channels Television News.
And finally, on News Round, Hungary seems to still be the elephant in the room, and it's not giving up, as it has blocked 50 billion euros, approximately $55 billion in European Union aid for Ukraine. The aid blocking was announced by Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban shortly after the EU leaders decided to open membership talks with Ukraine. Hungary, which maintains close ties with Russia, has long opposed membership for Ukraine, but did not veto that move. Mr. Orban left the negotiating room momentarily in what officials described as a pre-agreed and constructive manner, while other EU leaders went ahead with the votes. Commenting on Mr. Orban's position to the aid, Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte said, "We still have some time. Ukraine is not out of money in the next few weeks. Ukraine is critically dependent on EU and US funding as it continues to fight occupying Russian forces. Aid negotiations are set to resume by January next year. And that's News Round for the week. Thank you for watching. I'm Nnamdi Williams. Bye for now.